Valentine's Day is just around the corner, so what better time to design and create an entire dress from scratch? Welcome to Aiclo, my name is Fabiana, and today we're going to be making a beautiful dress for Valentine's Day. And you'll be coming along with me through the entire pattern making process and sewing process. Maybe you're like me and every time a special occasion is coming up, you want to make a completely new look, and that's what I'll be doing today. So let's get started. Okay, so I already have an idea of what I want to make, and that's a slip dress. I think I'm missing that staple satin bias cut dress in my closet, and I think that would really work as a Valentine's Day dress. So I think that's what I'm going to go for. I really like the idea of a mini dress because you can wear this as a top or you can wear boots with it. I think it's an option that you can really style in many different ways, but I just love the look of a maxi dress. I do think it looks a little bit more elegant, and maybe Valentine's is more of a maxi length type of dress. So maybe I'll go for something like this. And as for colors, it of course has to be either pink or red. And I'm a really firm believer that you should wear what makes you feel best. And I think red looks better on me. So I'll try and find a really dark, deep red fabric, maybe something like this. But I love these types of necklines and the tiny, delicate straps. So let's see what I can find on Aiclo to make this. Okay, so let's start with the fun part. I'm now on the Aiclo website, and this is the first thing you're going to see. As I already have an idea, I'm just going to go ahead and click on guided step by step. And as you know, we're going to be making a dress, so just select whatever you're going to make and select a template. As you know, we'll be making a slip dress with darts just like this one. And I'm going to be using my avatar, which has my measurements. So this way I can see how the dress will be fitting on me once I make it. Here's how that template is looking on my body, but you can make sure and modify it however you'd like, and also depending on the fabric you're using. I'll be making a longer dress, so let's customize the length of the dress. I think this is a little bit too long. Okay, I think that's perfect. Let's move on. Here, depending on the stretchability of my fabric, I can add a percentage. My fabric has about 5% stretchability, so I'll just go ahead and click that. I'll be using satin fabric, and usually that types of fabric don't have much stretch. And here I could also change the measurements by myself if I'd like to change anything. For example, if you'd like it to be tighter on the bust, tighter on the hips, or on the waist. Or if you'd like to change the length of the dress, you could also do that here. Now I can play around with the color and fabric of the dress. I think I'll be either making it on a deep red color or a cream white color. And as you know, I'll be using satin. So I'll just click on that and you'll have a better idea on how it's going to look. Now you just have to name your project. And go ahead and save it. If you go to the full version, you have an option over here which tells you how much fabric you'll need for your project. You just have to write how wide the fabric is, and it'll calculate how much you'll need. In my case, I'll be needing a little bit more than 2.5 meters. So I just make sure to take a picture of this so I have it with me when I buy fabric, and then you can just go ahead and download your pattern in whatever format you'd like. I'll be choosing PDF and in size A0. And then I can just go ahead and download it. If you love making your own clothes, or maybe you have your own brand, maybe you're a pattern maker, Aiclo will be the perfect tool for you. Thanks to Aiclo, you can create professional patterns, grade them into multiple sizes, and visualize the fit in just seconds. It really does help you make patterns more efficiently and lower your workload and the time you spend testing a pattern. Valentine's Day screams red, so that's the color I went for. And I'll be using the same fabric for the facing. Here I have my entire pattern. It was super easy to assemble and print out, just as any sewing pattern. And as you can see, all of the pieces have notches to help you line the pieces up correctly while sewing. Here I have my back piece, my front piece, the facings, and the straps. So let's cut the pattern. Since I'm making this dress in satin, I thought it would be best to cut it on the bias. Satin fabrics can be really delicate, so I prefer sometimes to just trace out the pattern pieces onto the fabric, and I just use a heat erasable pen, which is great. So I'll just make the outline around and cut it on the bias. I just cut the front piece and you can immediately start seeing the shape of the dress. Here I have all of my pattern pieces. These are the two back panels, the front panel, and the facings and the straps. So with these patterns, you're completely free to sew them however you'd like, but I do have an order in mind because I'll be adding an invisible zipper on the center back. But if you make it loose enough, I think you can manage without a zipper. So that's something to keep in mind. So you could always be creative and play around with the design to just see what fits best to what you need. One of the main reasons I love sewing my own clothes is that I can make them fit perfectly to my body, and that's what Aiclo is there for. And something really cool is that you can add or modify details however you'd like. For example, you could also add pockets to a dress, to pants. So I'm first going to focus on the back panels because the first thing I want to do is add the invisible zipper right on the center back. So I'm going to zigzag stitch the raw edge of the center back. Now for the two straps, I'm just going to close them like this, and I'll flip them inside out. And now that the facing is ready, I'm just going to zigzag stitch the entire bottom edge. A great tip when ironing seams that need overcasting, I always love pressing them before I overcast or zigzag stick the edges, because if I do that first and then press, you'll be able to see from the front the zigzag stitch marking or the overcast marking, especially on fabrics like silk. So I just press it however I'd like. In this case, I'm pressing both sides towards the back panels, and then I just overcast them. I decided to completely remove the invisible zipper on the center back because I went to try it on and I realized that since I cut it on the bias, there was enough stretch on this fabric for me to put it on without needing any zippers, which is amazing. So I just have to close it on the back. Okay, so I'm almost done with the dress. I'm really excited. I just tried it on. I've never had something I made fit me so perfectly on the first try. Right now I don't have to make any changes, and look how beautiful it's looking. I love the shape, and here on the bottom the dress kind of like opens up and flares out, and it looks so beautiful, so elegant. And as I said, I ended up removing the invisible zipper on the back, and now I can just put it on through my head because I cut this dress on the bias. I could have left the zipper on, but I just think it looks better on these types of dress without the zipper. But if you were to make it on a normal non-stretch and non-bias cut fabric, I would suggest adding a zipper. You could add it on the center back or one of the sides, and it would look really good as well. Now I'm just going to go ahead and attach the facing and measure the straps just in case I have to take them in, but I think they look pretty good. So I'll just sew them in and see how it goes. And after that, I'm going to show you a little trick on hemming these types of fabrics. I'm obsessed with this trick, so make sure to watch that because I'm sure it'll be a huge help. Here I have the fully closed facing, and I'm just going to pull it over, making sure the front side is facing the front side of the fabric, and I'm going to pin it in place. I just wanted to quickly let you know that Aiclo will be having all of their plans 40% off until March. So if you've been wanting to try Aiclo, this is a perfect time. You can just go ahead, check out the website, and see what plan works best for you. And on top of that, I forgot to mention that you can use code SEW20 to get an additional 20%. So that would be basically 60% off every plan. So make sure to check it out, and let's get back to sewing. Okay, so I'm done with that. It's looking amazing. What I want to do now is to make an understitch on the facings. That way it just grabs onto the seam allowance and the facing won't be flipping over to the front side of the dress. And after I do that, I can just go ahead and press it. Now all there's left to do for this part is to press it down properly because right now it's looking kind of crazy, but that's completely normal. Okay, so now I'm about to make the hem. It's the last step, and trust me, I've sewn for years. I've tried multiple ways to sew slippery fabrics and delicate fabrics such as this one, and I have not found a better technique. So let me show you how to do it. It's super easy, foolproof, and it looks so professional and delicate once you're done. So this is the raw edge of the hem, and what I'm going to do is fold it about 1 centimeter and start sewing as close as I can to this edge. You could honestly do a little bit less than a centimeter and just sew as close as you can. You could press it right now just to make sure you're doing it evenly along the entire hem, but I just go ahead and do it without pressing, and I just fold as I go. I'm going to set my machine to a straight stitch with a longer stitch length, so about 5. And I can just start anywhere. I'll fold it about a little bit less than a centimeter, and I'll just stitch all around. It doesn't have to be perfect because we won't be able to see this stitch, so don't worry about it not being perfect. This is how the hem is looking right now. You can see on the front it looks like this, but now what we're going to do is grab your scissors and you're going to trim this excess fabric as close as you can to the stitch. Of course, make sure not to cut the dress. You have to be really careful. So what I like to do is just cut a little bit here, just so I can get started. So just cut it as close as you can. Sometimes it's easier towards the other side, so let me try that. And hopefully you can get really close just like this. And I'm going to do that all around the hem. And now you just fold it once again and fold as close as you can to the edge on the left. And this is how it's going to look. It looks really delicate. It's a tiny hem, which is perfect for these fabrics. And now I'm just going to press it. I just want to say I am obsessed with this dress. I think it fits me perfectly. It's so comfortable, so easy to make, and look how beautiful it flows on the body. Okay, so here are my final thoughts on the pattern and the dress. First of all, I'd like to say that this is the first pattern I've tried from Aiclo, and I'm genuinely really surprised that I did not have to modify a single thing after printing the pattern. I was fully expecting to even have to modify maybe the length of the straps, and that's something that I did not have to do. Everything fit absolutely perfect on my body, and as you know, I was planning on using the zipper on the back, which I completely removed because I was able to pull on the dress from the top, which is amazing. So if you're looking for a project that does not require a zipper, this one's for you. Just make sure to use the right fabric and to cut it on the bias. A problem I've always had with all of the patterns I've used, like there's not a single exception, is mostly on the hips. I don't really have a lot of curves, and sometimes I was left with this humongous gap of fabric between my hip and the dress, and I always had to take it in, and it never was fully perfect, or it never felt like a dress that I maybe bought somewhere that was just perfect for me. And the same happened on the waist. But with Aiclo and my avatar with my own personal measurements, I was able to create my perfect dress, and I'm so happy about it. I know it's only the first pattern I've made, but it's one of those patterns that you love so much that you're already thinking what fabric to use on the next one. Another thing I absolutely loved about this pattern is the center back. Most patterns on the center back, they just have a straight line down the back. This one did have some shape. So as you can see, it just curves out so nicely on the back, and it kind of just goes in with your back and out again. It might seem like a small detail, but those are the details that I look for on a good pattern. Overall, I highly recommend trying it out or trying any of their patterns. I really enjoyed trying this pattern, and I can't wait for Valentine's Day to wear my new dress. For our next video, we're going to be trying out a beautiful blouse, so make sure to subscribe and like this video if you'd like to check that out. And remember that all of the links for Aiclo will be linked down below on the description of the video, so make sure to check it out. I promise you'll find Aiclo to be a great tool for sewing.